UWTV ready to go? Okay. We'll let Coach get us started.
Okay. After reviewing the film of the ball game, as I was Saturday night, I feel the same here Monday at noon. Really proud of our football team and the effort that they played with. I thought that our guys fought and competed extremely hard against an excellent football team, a very well-coached football team, and they battled until the very last play. And I couldn't be more pleased as a head coach that your team plays that way in a game where they were faced with a great deal of adversity, continued to bounce back and show the courage and willingness and mental toughness needed to beat a team with Stanford's capabilities. That being said, there's still the disappointment when you don't win, and there's no awards for losing. So we got to get back to the grind, and we obviously have a tremendous challenge this week with Oregon coming to town, and all of the things that they do so well in all three phases of the game. So we have our work cut out for us, but we're excited about the opportunity to show what we're made of. I think that this team is going to respond extremely well. They had a tremendous attitude yesterday, a great attitude today. They practiced their tails off this morning already. We understand the excitement that'll be in the air Saturday for the first time ever. ESPN Game Day coming to our campus, I think, is a real tribute to our football program, this university, and an opportunity for us to showcase our university. So we're excited for our fans that they get to have that opportunity Saturday morning, and then show up and do their part in the ball game here at 1 o'clock on Saturday with the blackout and all of the things that are going on with the ball game. So we need to do our part, and that's prepare really well and practice really well, and that's already begun. And like I said, I think this is a great opportunity for us to show what we're really made of and the mentality and maturity of this football team.
Questions?
Steve, an even greater challenge to eliminate the distractions, like you just kind of listed all the things that are going to be happening. In terms of just eliminating the distractions, is it even going to be a tougher task this week?
I don't think we have to change. You know, we've been talking this way from the beginning of zero distractions, and we've been faced with numerous ones already on a variety of fronts. And I think our kids have done an excellent job of staying focused on what they need to focus on. And this week's no different. Obviously, there are plenty of things that we could get distracted by. But if today was any indication of it was awesome. They were great. They came in with a great attitude. They took to the constructive criticism of coming off of a ball game, and they went to work today.
Steve, going back to the Stanford game, just your thoughts that you had then about the Kevin Smith play on 4th down, and also your take on the Stanford faking injury story.
My take doesn't change a whole lot on Kevin's play after looking at the film. I think it was a very difficult call to make at the moment of the call. It was ruled a catch, and I accepted the fact that it was ruled a catch. If they had ruled it incomplete, I would have accepted that it was ruled incomplete. But it was ruled a catch, so we went with the call. The explanation from the Pac-12, using the same video replay that we saw on the Jumbotron, the back angle that the ESPN shot was that it was conclusive that it was not a catch. I disagree, but that's just my opinion. You know, I don't think that was conclusive. But again, I'm not an official. I'm a football coach, and so my opinion varies in importance when it comes to those things. As far as our injuries are concerned, we saw what we saw, and I'm going to leave it at that.
Would you be in favor, expanding on that a little bit, and that's something to talk about at the end of the year, of levying some kind of like they do on challenges where they charge a timeout, of requiring injured players to spend more than one play out, and considering things like that? Would you be supportive?
I would be more involved in that if I was on a rules committee or things of that nature, but I tend not to spend too much time on things that I can't control, and that part's out of my control. If we're going to have a head coaches summit, or if we're going to talk about those things, or if I'm placed on a rules committee, then I'll offer up my suggestions. But until that time comes, I got to focus on what I can control, and that's getting our team prepared to play Oregon.
How did Keith look today with his thumb?
He practiced. He looked tight. Mondays are typically a light day for any of our starting quarterbacks in years past, but Keith was out there. I think he'll be fine come Saturday.
And just in general, health-wise, that's a pretty physical game.
Good. Everybody practiced, I mean, again, knock on wood. I don't know if it's our conditioning or whatever it may be, but we look in great shape. I thought we looked in awesome shape in the second half. I thought we were a really well-conditioned football team, and we came out of it today where our entire roster was back on the field.
Steve, where did you see the breakdowns in film on the special teams coverage?
A couple spots. And for one, credit Stanford. They did a great job. They did a good job at their schemes, and they have a tremendous returner in Ty Montgomery. A couple of the breakdowns were execution points to where we just didn't execute the coverage lanes the way we're capable of, and so we went right back to it again today. It was the first thing we did in practice, was working on how we take on those blocks and covering kickoffs, and whether we use it with speed or power, and how we fit returns. And so we can execute better, but we need to coach it better to ensure that can happen. So it was a big point of emphasis of ours, and will continue to be until we get it to a point to where we feel comfortable with it.
Do you feel like you need to make any drastic changes?
No, I mean, a little bit, the subtle changes in scheme, but nothing extremely drastic. I think we can kick the ball better than we did. And the only reason I say that is because I've seen him kick the ball better than that in worse conditions here at Husky Stadium. And I think we can cover better than that. But again, we have to coach it better to make that happen.
Was there ever a thought, Sark, was there any options in terms of maybe not using Cameron if he wasn't 100%?
Well, we did make a switch to Travis at the end. Obviously, the other option, we tried to utilize the pop-over kick, and we didn't execute that one great either. So we have to spend more time on it.
I know you talked about sometimes you can always go back and look at play calls and wonder what if. The pop-over, was it just the execution, or do you feel like it was still the right call?
Well, I just didn't want him to return it 100 yards and right back in our face again, and that was the second kickoff after the first one when I watched him run right in front of me, So I just felt like if we could execute it and pop it over and they get the ball in the 25 and go play good defense, Unfortunately, they got the ball in the 40.
Obviously, this is the first time you guys are coming off a loss this year. What's kind of the process from when that game ends to your guys in the field today that you want them to obviously process the loss of that?
The same as in a win. We evaluate the film, we evaluate our performance, we grade every player on every snap. We come together as a team, and Monday mornings we get to the truth of what really occurred in the ball game. We go through what our opinion are the winning stats in the game and our winning formula and the areas where we need to be successful. And then we turn the page. We learn from our mistakes. We try to build on our positives, and we move on. And we have to, this week more so than ever. I mean, it's such a drastic change in philosophy when you go from a Stanford to an Oregon. We don't have too long to dwell on Stanford and that ball game. We got to learn from it, but we have to get ready for a completely different style in Oregon this week.
The tipped interception near the goal line, was that just a case of Micah just not getting his block down, or was there some communication error?
No, it was a heck of a play by 93, Trent Murphy, who is a fantastic football player for them, as we all know. He made a nice move on Micah to come underneath him. Keith really had a run zone, a run pass option on the play. And the read gave him the proper read to throw it there, and he was looking for Jadon in the end zone. And 93 made a heck of a play. I think, hindsight, if Micah could do it all over again, he would have kept a little better inside leverage to try to get 93's hands down. But, the kid's 6'6", and he's long, and he intercepted a pass for a touchdown against us a year ago, and he did it a week ago against Wazoo. That's the strength of his game, and he made a heck of a play, and they got the interception.
The late Stanford touchdown that got by Peters at the end of half, it looked like you guys were kind of maybe in a bump and run press coverage type deal. Is that what you wanted to be in?
Yeah, we felt good about the call. We felt good about the matchup, really. I mean, we really felt like they were playing to try to get into field goal range. I think there was 17 or 18 seconds left in the half, and they were just out of field goal range, and so we were trying to eliminate the hitch routes, the quick outs, to where they could get right into field goal range. And we felt good about Marcus and bump and run coverage, and Marcus was there stride for stride. I think he relaxed a little bit, and the kid made a heck of a throw. He made the best throw of the night. I don't know exactly what his numbers ended up being. I think he was 9 for 20 or something like that for 105 or something yards. And so and we played a lot of bump and run coverage all night. If he doesn't hit that one, he's, I don't know, 8 of 20 for 60 yards, you know. So we played good pass defense. They made a play. Their quarterback, their receiver, and he really double catches that one too. I didn't realize that. I thought it was just a clean catch. He double caught that one too. You know, we're just hoping Marcus maybe could throw a hand in there and punch it out, but they made the play.
Sark, you look at Oregon. Any major changes from Alfred as opposed to Chip Kelly?
Not major, no. I think there's a little bit of some subtleties there, but they go fast. They execute really well. They have a premier speed on the perimeter, whether it's at running back or wide receiver. And obviously Marcus is playing at such a high level at quarterback, whether it's throwing it or running it. They look very similar that way. You know, they look like a dynamic football team that can hurt you on all three phases.
He told us, Mariota, that he wanted to go to play for Washington. Do you remember just kind of that whole process at all with him in recruiting?
Oh, yeah. Where's Doug Nussmeier? No, I'm just kidding. Marcus came to camp with us, you know, heading into his senior season, and he was a really good player. He was a fantastic player in camp. He hadn't started on his high school football team yet, and so there was some hesitation on our part, quite honestly, in evaluating him. And credit to Oregon that they went for it on him before we did, and we tried to come in late, and he stuck with his commitment to Oregon, and he's a heck of a player for him. You know, what can you say?
Last few years, Steve, you guys have hung with them the first half or even into the second half, and then they pulled away like they do against most teams. Right. How much more equipped are you guys, condition-wise, style-wise, to deal with the second half?
Well, I think we have a lot more depth on our roster than we've ever had, and that's been the talk of since training camp. I think we have the depth in place to substitute and rotate players earlier in the ball game and not have such a significant drop-off. I think we're a much more better conditioned football team than we've ever been in the past, and we see that in our own second halves against our own opponents. I think we perform at a high level in the second half. And then thirdly, I think we'll be a lot more comfortable in that environment and the speed in which they operate at because of the speed in which we operate at on our offensive end. All of that being said, it's still a very tall task. They're a very good football team.
Steve, Oregon didn't invent the system that they're running in, but they've certainly exploited it probably as well as any college team in the country. How influential was their success to your decision in the offseason?
Well, it's part of it in that we know how, I watched how difficult it was to defend them. And they were unique in the way they did it and their ability. You know, you think up tempo at that time, and you think spread offense. I think initially it was throw, throw, throw. Oregon went about it a different way. They were run, run, run. And early on with Chip, it was a run-first offense and still continues to be. And so there was unique challenges to it that I think opened my eyes to trying to understand what they were doing and how they were doing it and the success that they were having and the issues that it gave us. And so I think it definitely played a part in it.
Was there a period of time where you said no, no, no to that change and then, well, yes, yes, yes?
It came about just the way our roster developed, I think, in the way we recruited to our roster. The depth that you need to play this way, the athletic offensive linemen that you need to have, the quarterbacks that can really operate that system. So there's a lot that goes into it. I don't know if there was an aha moment that all of a sudden it was no, 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 and now yes, yes, yes. I think it was gradual over time, but I think it's been a positive change for us.
You talk about the overall evolution of the defense this year, which appeared to be just as solid, at least numerically, against Stanford as it was against the earlier opponents. How you feel that helps you in preparing for a game like this relative to 2 years ago and 3 years ago?
Well, today we went to practice. We didn't have a service period. We went goods on goods every period because of so much of the similarities between the offenses and the defenses. And I think it allows us to keep the tempo, the pace, the physicality of practice where it needs to be in preparation for Saturday.
Steve, as long as you've been here, you've never wanted to put too much emphasis on one game. Does that change at all with this weekend and just what's happened the last 9 years at all?
You know, I can't go back and you know, one game's not going to change the last 9 years. You know, we're not naive to the fact that our fans, this university want to win this game. But we're also understanding that the process that it takes, those rah-rah speeches on Monday and Tuesday, Wednesday, those aren't going to help us play Saturday. It's our process and our focus and our attention to detail and our understanding of what we're doing and why we're doing it is what's so critical. We're going to play really hard Saturday. We're going to come out of the tunnel. We'll be fired up and all that stuff, and they're going to be too. But our preparation is way more important than getting caught up in we need to avenge the 9 previous seasons and all that. That's great. That's great for the blogs and all that kind of stuff. It's for the fans, and that's what rivalry games are all about. That's what makes college football so unique and so cool. But the reality of it is we need to understand how to fit outside zone. We need to understand how we're going to block their pressures and how we're going to block Eric Armstead and DeForest Buckner and how we can get open against Terrence Mitchell. And that stuff to me is more important. And then that puts us in a position on Saturday to maybe make up for some of that stuff that happened before. But what I do know is we played a top 5 team in America a week ago on the road and played our tails off and had a chance to win and just missed it. And we have another opportunity this week to show our resolve and to show how we can respond from that tough loss and go play the number 2 team in the country in Husky Stadium with the entire country watching in an amazing atmosphere for college football that we're fortunate to be part of, and we're going to go out and put our best foot forward and see if that's good enough to win.
Obviously, it was different types of opponents, but how would you compare the way Keith played Saturday versus the way he played in the Alamo Bowl? There's a lot of comparisons being made to those being his 2 best games.
I think he got hit a lot more Saturday. I mean, Stanford's front 7, that's an NFL front, and they got after him, they hit him, and I just thought he showed a great deal of toughness. The Alamo Bowl, he had some fun plays in there. He was running around, throwing the ball over the place, but the toughness he exuded Saturday was, I think there's the biggest difference there in those two games. And I think he was the focal point in both games. But that game Saturday, I mean, some of the shots he took, and for him to continue to get back up, to throw the football, and to make really critical throws on 3rd downs in the second half, I just thought was tremendous.
Can you compare a little bit, just very generally, what the defensive approach you kind of expect out of Oregon versus what you saw from Stanford?
What?
How they approach defense, how they line up, what they present.
Defense, we can make it as elaborate as we want to make it. At the end of the day, you got to line up right. You have to use really good technique, and you have to tackle, and that won't change. And that one doesn't change if Stanford comes out with 8 offensive linemen or if Oregon comes out with an open set with 4 wide receivers. At the end of the day, the principles of defense remain the same, and those principles will remain the same for us. So without getting into schematics and Mark Helfrich going into their offensive staff meeting saying this is what Sark said they're going to do on defense, we're going to line up and we're going to use really good technique and we're going to try to tackle these guys down after down after down. And that's the challenge that they put on you. They get you in space and they force one-on-one matchups and one-on-one opportunities. They make guys miss and they turn them into big plays. And so we have to be very sound in our alignment. We have to use great technique and communication, and then ultimately we have to tackle really well in space.
Have they changed at all with Helfrich, or is it the same?
Not much. They got a few wrinkles here and there, like everybody does every year. But they stay very consistent with the things that have been good to them over the years. They've added some wrinkles to some of those things that have been good to them over the years, and they've got a quarterback who has grown up in that system and is playing at a very high level.
Speaking of Price again, were there moments in the 4th quarter, especially after some of those shots, that you thought, looks like we might have to sub him out? Was he that close?
No, the one issue was just with the thumb, just his ability to grip the football, but he continued to reassure us that he was fine. So we were prepared to put Seiler in the game. Seiler felt good about it, but Keith just continued to reassure us he was fine, and there was nothing in his play that made us think otherwise. He was making some tremendous throws under distress.
You talked to Austin after that drop, or about the drop, or is that even necessary?
No, I mean, Austin's a competitive guy. Nobody wanted to catch that ball more than him, believe me.
What were your thoughts on the penalties after seeing the film?
There's some penalties, obviously that I agree with. They made calls that I felt like were the correct calls to make, and there's other ones that I disagree with. But that doesn't, that part of it's a little bit irrelevant. I can go back and I can send in the report, and then they can send it back to me saying, yeah, you were right. But the game's over. We lost the football game, and so it's time for us to move on. We can sit around and keep talking about what happened at the Stanford game and what happened in the Stanford game. Well, Oregon practiced today too, and we got to get ready to play the number 2 team in the country.
It's been a recurring thing, obviously, the penalties. Are there common denominators there, or things you guys have tried?
Yeah, that we've gotten just about every one of them I think there is to be called against you. So, hopefully we learn from others' mistakes and try not to be repetitive in the penalties that are getting called upon us. But I really think that our kids played hard. Again, I think there were some legitimate penalties. The chop block on Bishop was a chop block. The false starts on Riva and Tanagawa were false starts. I'm not sure where the hands to the face were on Howley. I'm not sure when that occurred. I don't know. So there's stuff like that that's in there, but that's football, and we have to deal with it. And you have to move on to the next snap. You have to move on to the next opponent, and that's what we're doing.
What did you see out of your captains and your leaders Saturday night, Sunday, today?
They're awesome. Keith Price, Sean Parker, the Will Schambergers of the world. I mean, those guys have just been tremendous in their resolve and how that ball game ended and how much they wanted to go win that game. And then their ability to refocus, to bring the young guys with them, to come back today and have an excellent practice. And that's a hard thing to do when you're 19, 20, 21 years old, because you feel like you had unfinished business, like the game ended away like, are you kidding me? We need 5 more snaps and then we'll see what happens. But they came back today, and I know they're excited about the opportunity to show what they're all about. And there couldn't be a better opponent for us to do that versus. And I think that Oregon poses some unique challenges to us that we have to prepare ourselves for, and our guys recognize that, and they're getting ready for it.
Specifically, are they more vocal? Are they taking guys under their wings? What are they doing at timeout?
I just think that they're continually reiterating the messaging that I'm giving. And we felt like we gave a great message in the locker room to the team after the ball game. We tried to build upon that this morning in our team meeting. And when you listen to our veterans talk, a lot of the common themes within that messaging is what they're talking about. And I think that that's a sign of a good football team. I think that's a sign of a mature football team, that they're all on the same page with what we think. And we got to the truth of it this morning, and we're moving on. And what we need to do here in the next few days to get prepared for Saturday and what the focus is going to be.
Is it fair to say they're embracing the moment then?
Oh, yeah, they're awesome. They're awesome. These guys, you got to remember how much these guys have been through, man. We've had some tough roads and some tough moments as a team with some of these vets. I mean, these guys were in the team meeting when we got outscored. I think it was 130-30 in a 3-game stretch against Arizona, Stanford, and Oregon. And so those weren't fun team meetings to be part of. And so now, when we're playing these same teams and we're beating one of them, we're taking the other one down to the last play on the road, and now here comes the third one again. What a difference a few years makes, And so I think they're appreciative of the opportunities that they've had here. I think they really appreciate one another as teammates, and I think that they want to make the most of this opportunity that's right in front of them, and so they're embracing it.
Are you a moral victory type of guy?
Not really. Not really.
You feel like, looking back on those tough times, that you and your staff, your team of coaches, can spend more focus really on football and maybe less on a little bit of healing and psychology and so on you may have had to be sensitive about?
I don't know if that's necessarily true. I think the messaging's just different now, and I think we're a little bit more in-depth in our messaging. I don't think we're challenging manhood nearly as much as we were back then. I think it's more about really coming to a common theme of where we need to be and the truth of why the ball game went the way it did, win, lose, or draw, and then what we're going to need to do this week to be victorious. And so I think it's just a bit of different messaging, but we still have to think about it. There's still there's 105 guys in there varying from fifth-year seniors to a redshirt freshman who, practices a few days a week and doesn't play on Saturday. And how we get all those guys on the same page is challenging. And so we do have to think about it.
Your point about you can't play 9 games back is quite obvious, but this game is a lot about the future, at least in terms of Northwest recruiting and really up and down the West Coast. How do you try to put that in perspective as far as a successful outcome on Saturday?
The Saturday's ball game is about trying to keep us with only one loss in conference play. And we know Oregon's a good football team, and if we want to remain in the hunt in the Pac-12 North, we need to win Saturday. And that's what it's about. It's not about some 17-year-old kid in Southern California right now. It's about we need to win this ball game Saturday. We need to prepare really well to stay within the hunt in the Pac-12 North, because that's the goal.
So given how the defense has evolved under Justin and kind of the push towards defending the spreads and everything else, does this feel like kind of the ultimate challenge for them, considering how well they're playing right now?
Every week feels like the ultimate challenge. We went and faced 8 offensive linemen, and we're subbing defensive linemen, and Travis Feeney's playing free safety against Stanford a week ago. So every week's the ultimate challenge. That's the beauty of our conference and the challenges of our conference. The week before, we went up against the nation's leading rusher, and Kadeem Carey. So every week's the ultimate challenge, and that's just the way we view it.
So one thing Will Cox or the defense in general has done this year that's kind of stood out to you, or what they've been able to do?
I think our pass defense has just been phenomenal. It is just week after week we hear about how great the quarterbacks are. We're getting ready to play, and at the end of the game, I go in the locker room, they hand me a stat sheet, and that guy didn't perform anywhere near his numbers as he had been coming into the game. So I think it's a combination of things. I think that, one, I think our coaches put together a tremendous game plan each week. 2, I think our players accept the game plan and then ultimately go out and execute it. I think we put enough pressure on the quarterback to make him uncomfortable. I think we do a great job of recognizing route combinations and matching those route combinations. And then thirdly, I think we do a good job of making plays on the football when we get our chances to. And it's not just about 1 or 2 guys. I think it's a group effort.
Okay, everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right.